You were never forced into a cage. You asked for it. And the bars? They're made of dopamine. Every scroll, every click, every binge, you built it, not with chains, but with comfort. And now, you're trapped, and you're thanking your captors. What if I told you that pleasure has quietly become the most powerful form of control in human history? We think slavery ended that it wore chains and answering to masters. But what if it just changed form? What if the new slave is entertained, distracted, fed, yet quietly controlled? Aldous Huxley warned us of a world where people wouldn't fight their oppression. They'd beg for it as long as it felt good. And that world, it's not science fiction anymore. It's your everyday life. You don't need to be forced when you're addicted to the very things keeping you still. Comfort has become the perfect leash. But how did we get so hooked in the first place? We don't notice it because it doesn't hurt. That's the genius of it. Control doesn't always show up with sirens and shackles. Sometimes it's soft. Sometimes it feels good. Sometimes it even comes with free shipping. Think about it. When was the last time you were uncomfortable? Physically, emotionally, mentally? We avoid it like the plague. We crank the heat when we're cold, pop a pill when we're anxious, and scroll endlessly when we're bored. We microwave, we multitask, we Uber. Everything around us is designed to remove friction. And it works too well. But here's the quiet horror. When you remove every form of discomfort, you also remove the need to move, to change, to resist. You don't have to force people to comply when they're too sedated by pleasure to care. This is what Aldous Huxley saw coming nearly a century ago. While Orwell warned of a future filled with fear and control, Huxley predicted something more terrifying, a world where people would learn to love their servitude. Comfort is the perfect starting point for that kind of servitude. Let's look at the science of this trap. Your brain is wired to chase pleasure and avoid pain. It's survival 101. But today's world offers constant artificial hits of dopamine without the effort that used to come with them. You don't hunt to eat. You don't struggle to survive winter. You don't even have to remember things. Google's got you. This flood of instant comfort rewires your brain. The more you indulge in ease, the more allergic you become to the effort. That's not just bad for your goals. It's dangerous for your freedom. Why? Because someone or something else is deciding what comforts you get when you get them and how you behave to keep them. You've been conditioned, without knowing it, to trade freedom for convenience. And you're not alone. Let me show you what this looks like in real life. There's a man. Call him Ryan. Every day, Ryan wakes up to an alarm on a phone filled with apps designed to keep his attention. He scrolls in bed, still half asleep, feeding himself entertainment, stimulation, and noise. Breakfast? Whatever's fastest. Work? He sits, clicks, types, repeats. At night, more screens, more scrolling, more eating, more escape. He's not suffering, but he's not living it here. He's just comfortable and tired and numb. He used to have dreams, big ones, but chasing them would mean giving up this soft, effortless loop he's built around himself. And that loop? It's not random. It's been crafted, sold, and fed to him by systems that profit from his stagnation. Ryan's not in chains. He's in a cushion-lined cage. And here's where it gets darker. The more comfortable people become, the more terrified they are of discomfort. Try turning off your phone for a whole day. Watch how fast your hands twitch toward it. That's not just habit. That's withdrawal. Try sitting alone with your thoughts. No music, no distraction, just you and the silence. Feel that rising panic? That itch to do something? That's the cost of constant comfort. It makes stillness feel unbearable. And when discomfort becomes the enemy, anything that offers relief becomes the aster. Fast food, fast news, fast pleasure, fast fixes. It doesn't matter if it's bad for you. If it soothes, it sells. And once it sells, it spreads. Corporations, platforms, and even governments all realize the same truth. It's easier to control people when they don't want to leave the couch. That's not a conspiracy. That's just reality. Market forces do what they're built to do, optimize for profit, not freedom. But here's what they don't want you to realize: comfort kills your resistance. Not in some big, dramatic revolution kind of way, but in a slow, numbing, everyday erosion of your willpower. You stop questioning. You stop growing. You stop remembering what it felt like to want something more. And that's the scariest part. You don't even notice it happening. There's no moment where a villain enters and takes your freedom away. Instead, it's replaced by Netflix, by food delivery, by a job that pays just enough to keep you from leaving, by notifications that fill the silence just enough to distract you from the fact that you're not moving forward. You've been bought, not with fear, but with ease. And once you've bought, they don't need to keep watching you. You'll police yourself that you'll say, I could chase that dream, but this is good enough. You'll say, I could start something new, but I'm tired. You'll say, I should change, but I don't want to lose what I already have. Comfort whispers that growth is too risky, that freedom is too hard, that numbness is safer than pain, and you start believing it. But here's the twist, comfort isn't bad. You're not weak for enjoying it. You're human. The problem isn't the comfort itself, it's how easily it becomes your identity, your addiction, your trap, and once it's a trap, it can be used against you. Because if you're terrified of discomfort, they can manipulate you with anything that offers relief. Buy this, watch this, think this, vote this way. Don't question, don't pause, keep scrolling, stay calm, stay fed, stay still. Just don't wake up, because waking up means pain. It means leaving the warm, soft lie you've built your life around. And that's the one thing modern systems are counting on you never doing. But what happens when someone starts to notice, when they stop numbing, when they embrace discomfort, when they willingly walk into the cold, the silence, the stillness, because they want something more than comfort tea? That's when they become dangerous to the system, to the machine, to the world that thrives on people staying still. Because once you realize you've been lulled into stillness, the next question becomes, who benefits from you staying there? Let's not pretend this is all just accidental. Sure, comfort feels innocent, harmless, deserved even, but someone's making billions while you scroll. Someone's collecting data every time you tap, swipe, binge, and buy. And someone, more than likely, wants you comfortable enough to stop asking questions. Because comfort isn't just a feeling anymore. It's a business model. It's a tool. It's a leash. Start with the obvious. Corporations. They know exactly how your brain works better than you do. Not because they're smarter, but because they've been testing you in real time. For years. Every time you hesitate on a product, linger on a reel, or binge watch something mindless at 2 a.m., they're watching. Not through some shadowy secret camera, but through data, cold, calculated patterns of behavior. They use it to shape what you see, what you want, and what you believe you need. Not because they care about you, because they care about keeping your attention. And the best way to do that, keep you just comfortable enough not to leave, but just empty enough to keep consuming. So your pleasures get smaller, cheaper, and more addictive. Food that hits hard, but leaves you tired. Content that stimulates but never satisfies. Stuff that feels good for 30 seconds and leaves you feeling worse afterward. And the cycle keeps spinning because they've designed it that way, but goes deeper than products. Even your opinions aren't fully yours anymore. Algorithms decide what you see. And when comfort is king, you're not going to fight it. You'll watch what's easy. You'll believe what feels good. You'll avoid anything that makes you uncomfortable. So outrage gets filtered through your preferences. Truth gets tailored to your tastes. The more you agree with something, the more you'll see it. The more you resist discomfort, the less you'll question it. Before long, you're not just stuck in a comfort zone, you're stuck in a thought zone. A custom-built echo chamber that rewards your biases and shields you from anything that might force you to think harder. That's not an accident. That's design. Now here's where it gets darker. Governments aren't blind to this either. See, controlling people through fear? That's messy, unstable, risky. But controlling people through pleasure? That's brilliant. You don't need to crack down on protest when no one's protesting. You don't need to silence voices when no one's speaking up. You don't need to control the people if the people are too sedated to care. It's the same mechanism used in ancient Rome, bred in circuses. Feed the masses. Entertain the masses. Keep them docile. Keep them distracted. Huxley saw this coming. He wrote that the future wouldn't be full of tyranny and terror. It would be drowned in pleasure. Drowned in amusement. A society not crushed by fear, but lost in distraction. And here we are, with more access to truth than ever before, and more apathy than ever before. Because truth hurts, and comfort's cheaper. The most terrifying part? You don't need to force people to be enslaved anymore. They'll chain themselves to whatever brings them relief. The screen, the feed, the quick fix. They'll hand over their time, their attention, their privacy voluntarily. Because comfort makes it feel like a choice. You think you're free because you're not being chased. You think you're in control because no one's stopping you. But that's the trick. Control isn't about force anymore. It's about seduction. If you can keep people pacified, you don't have to cage them. And if they start to resist, just feed them another hit of pleasure. This isn't just theory. It's measurable. Look at productivity. People are more anxious, distracted, and unfulfilled than ever before, despite having tools that promise to make life easier. Why? Because we've replaced meaning with maintenance. We maintain a lifestyle. We maintain our comfort. We maintain the appearance of having it together, but we rarely build anymore. We rarely struggle in a meaningful way, and that means we rarely feel alive. And when people don't feel alive, they get numb. And when they get numb, they become easy to control. Not through fear, not through force, through comfort. Let's break this down even further. Why are you scared to quit that job you hate? Because the paycheck keeps you comfortable. Why don't you pursue what you love? Because it means sacrificing stability, giving up ease. Why do you keep scrolling past the things that make you uncomfortable? Because it's easier to feel entertained than to feel confronted. Comfort has become a weapon, not just one aimed at you, but one you've learned to aim at yourself. You silence your ambitions. You suppress your discontent. You settle, not because you're weak, because the system rewards you for staying there. And the ultimate question, who benefits from you staying in that state? Big tech? For sure. Governments? Absolutely. Corporations? Without a doubt. But maybe it's even more personal than that. Because the longer you stay distracted, the less dangerous you are. Dangerous to a system that needs passive consumers. Dangerous to a culture that thrives on apathy. Dangerous to everything that profits from your silence, your numbness, your comfort. You were never meant to be soft, pacified, and still. But they need you to be. Because if you wake up, if you move, you become unpredictable, unstable, free, and that breaks the machine. So what now? If you've made it this far, something in you is already waking up. You've seen the loop, you've noticed the patterns, and now you can't unsee it. But recognition isn't enough. The next part is escape. But don't worry, we're not talking about running into the forest or throwing your phone into the ocean. The system wants you to think escape means isolation or rebellion. That waking up means losing everything. But there's another way, a smarter one. Comfort feels like freedom until it becomes the only thing you chase. That's the trap, the loop. The cage is made of soft edges and dopamine highs. But what if you could flip it? What if the very thing you've been avoiding, discomfort, is the key to getting your life back? Here's the part they don't want you to realize. The system doesn't force you to stay trapped. It just keeps offering you reasons not to leave. And the longer you stay, the harder it gets to even imagine walking out. The first step out of this trap, see it for what it is. Pleasure isn't evil. Comfort isn't the villain. But when they become the default, the goal, the coping mechanism, you've handed over the steering wheel of your life. Start asking yourself, who does this pleasure serve? Is it helping you grow or just keeping you still? Because if it numbs you, distracts you, softens you, then it's not comfort. It's sedation. And sedation is not rest. It's not recovery. It's sure under. This isn't about becoming a monk. It's about becoming awake. You don't have to throw away your phone or delete your accounts. You don't have to live in a cabin or meditate for 6 hours a day. But you do have to take responsibility for your attention. Start here. Delay your gratification through boredom without stimulation. Choose the hard thing on purpose once a day, not to punish yourself, but to remind yourself you're still in control, because control is a muscle. And if you never use it, someone else will. Reclaiming discomfort is how you reclaim an agency. When you stop avoiding discomfort, you start hearing yourself again. You stop drowning in the algorithm. You stop numbing with noise. You stop outsourcing your willpower to whatever's easier. You listen to your boredom, your pain, your frustration, and underneath all there's direction, there's clarity. You don't need another self-help hack. You need tension, real tension, between where you are and where you know you're meant to be. That tension is uncomfortable, but it's a life, and it's yours. You want a life with meaning? You're gonna have to earn it by resisting the urge to settle, by turning your back on cheap pleasure, by chasing discomfort like it's fuel. Because it isn't just a mindset shift. It's a revolt against numbness, against sedation, against the system that profits from you still less. And revolts aren't comfortable, but that's the point. You've been taught to chase ease. Now try chasing effort. Do the thing you're scared of. Say the truth that's hard to say. Show up when it would be easier to stay here some. That's how you break the leash. Not by waiting for a big moment, but by reclaiming 1,000 small ones. Here's the hard truth. No one's coming to save you. Not the algorithm, not your therapist, not your followers, not the next book or podcast or productivity app. Because this isn't about hacks or habits or motivation. It's about choosing resistance on purpose every day. So when comfort whispers, you don't have to, you respond with, exactly. That's why I will. If you want to escape modern slavery, you have to stop being an obedient prisoner. Not because you're angry, not because you're rebellious, but because you've finally remembered what it means to feel alive. And that feeling, that's what they can't sell you, can't spoon feed you, can't trap you with that's yours and it always was. Most people never leave, not because they can't, but because they forget they're in a cage at all. And that's the final twist of modern slavery. You don't fight your captors. You fall in love with your chains because they're padded, branded, optimized for ease. But real freedom, it never feels easy. It feels raw. It feels risky. It feels like walking barefoot after years in a silk-lined prison. And still, people do it. Some have done it, not by vanishing into the woods, but by waking up while living inside the system and bending it back in their favor. This is the escape they never know how you are. Not some movie scene rebellion. No epic breaking free montage. Real escape is quiet, uncomfortable, slow. It starts when you ask one dangerous question. What if everything I thought was keeping me safe is keeping the job that pays the bills? What if it's costing you your soul? The constant stimulation? What if it's muting the thoughts that would have changed your life? The comforts that keep you going? What if they're the exact reason you've stopped growing? That's where it starts. Not with a leap, but with a crack. And cracks always spread. This isn't about burning it all down. It's about burning off the numbness. Step by step, cut your screen time, not because it's bad, but because your mind is worth protecting. Eat food that fuels, not because it's moral, but because your clarity depends on it. Do hard things daily. Not to prove anything, but to feel something real again. And stop running from silence, because silence is where the truth lives. And you've been outrunning that truth with noise for long enough. Here's what no one tells you about waking up. It's lonely at first. Everyone around you is still asleep, still comfortable, still half alive, and they'll think you're the crazy one. For quitting what worked, for saying no to what's normal, for wanting more than just peace and quiet. But stay with it, because eventually something shifts. You stop craving cheap highs. You stop needing outside validation. You stop fearing the discomfort because it starts to feel good, not in a dopamine hit way, but in a fire in your gut kind of way. The kind of good that comes from knowing you're free. The system wants passive consumers, but it's terrified of active creators. So make things, build things, break the loop by becoming the kind of person who produces instead of just consuming. Write what scares you. Say what matters. Move toward what feels impossible. That's the kind of discomfort that rewires everything. That's the kind of discomfort they can't monetize. Because when you stop running from pain, it becomes power. And that power, it doesn't need permission. It doesn't need a platform. It doesn't wait for perfect timing. It just moves, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard, because nothing alive was meant to be static. So here's the real call to action. Don't just wake up. Start moving. That means resisting the bait, choosing presence over passivity, trading ease for evolution. Not all at once, but today, a little, right now. Put the phone down. Go do something real. Call someone and say what you've been holding back. Write the first paragraph of the thing you've been avoiding. Go outside and walk until your mind starts working again. Don't wait for motivation. Don't wait for clarity. Don't wait for anyone else to catch up, because freedom isn't found. It's built. And the first brick is discomfort. The next one, that's yours to lay. You don't need to burn the world down to be free. You just need to stop feeding the machine with your silence. Because rebellion doesn't always look like protest signs and breaking glass. Sometimes rebellion looks like living with intention in a world that profits from your distraction. Sometimes rebellion is as simple as paying attention to your habits, to your emotions, to where your time goes. Because that's where the real theft happens. Not in some dramatic moment, but drip by drip as you give yourself away in exchange for momentary relief. If comfort is the cage, then awareness is the crack. And every time you choose discomfort, the real kind, you widen that crack. Waking up early to face what you've been avoiding. Sitting with boredom instead of drowning it in dopamine. Choosing effort when ease is just a click away. It's not glamorous. No one claps for it, but it's real. And it changes you. Not instantly, but permanently. This is the quiet war of modern life. Not between good and evil, but between numbness and presence. Between sedation and movement. Between passive consumption and purposeful creation. You're not just escaping anymore. You're becoming someone they can't control. And that makes you dangerous in the best possible way. Aldous Huxley warned us. The real dystopia won't come through oppression. It'll come through amusement, through comfort, through people so entertained they forget to rebel. He didn't write that as fantasy. He wrote it as a map. And now that you see the terrain, you get to choose your direction. You can scroll on. Let the system have another hour. Let the algorithm rinse your brain one more time. Or you can stop right here, right now, and do something uncomfortable, something small, something real. Because every rebellion starts with a refusal to be numb, a refusal to be owned, a refusal to be another battery for the machine. So here's the truth most people won't tell you. You won't be saved. You won't be rescued. You won't be handed back your attention, your fire, your mind. You have to take it bit by bit, day by day, discomfort by discomfort. And if you're waiting for signs, this was it. This video, this feeling, this crack in routine. Now go make it wider. So now what? You've seen the bars of the cage. You've felt the quiet pull of comfort, the slow drain of your energy, the soft chains wrapped in pleasure. You know, this isn't just about tech or capitalism or some abstract system. This is about you, your life, your mind. Because no matter what the world looks like, your choices still matter. You can't control the algorithms. You can't rewrite the internet. You can't tear down the entire machine by yourself. But you can stop handing it your time. You can stop giving it your silence. You can stop treating your own numbness as normal. This isn't about escaping the system. It's about becoming immune to it. It's about noticing when you're being pulled, feeling when you're being drained, interrupting the reflex before it becomes your identity, choosing boredom over the feed, choosing pain over paralysis, choosing friction over sleepwalking. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be awake. Because once you're aware, the leash doesn't tighten the same way. It pulls, but you resist. It tempts, but you pause. It calls, but you don't answer on autopilot. That's the move. Not to break the machine, but to become the part it can't predict. That if this video made you uncomfortable, good. That discomfort is your signal. Don't let the algorithm numb you again. Before you watch the next thing, sit in silence and ask yourself, who's really in control, you or your comfort?